Okay, Irfan. Ahmad, you can start.
Okay. Welcome, friends, to the Interfaith Prayer and Discussion number 185. You see on the screen the proceedings. I welcome our speaker when the time comes. We have some readings to read, and they're allocated, 7 of them. Before that, there would be prayer and music run by Siva. And then once the prayer section finishes, I introduce our speaker. And then at the end, we have some time for question and answer. And if any announcements later at the end.
So now, acknowledging and honoring indigenous land and people. I find this particular quote from the Universal House of Justice, the supreme administrative body of the Baha'i faith, relevant to the situation of indigenous people and other marginalized people all over the world. There is widespread acknowledgement that the present-day structures of society are ill-prepared to address the needs of humanity in its current travails. Much that was widely assumed to be certain and unshakable is being questioned, and the resulting ferment is producing a longing for a unifying vision. The chorus of voices raised in support of oneness, equality, and justice shows how many share these aspirations for their societies. And we know that the indigenous people have been living in this land for more than 65,000 years. Yet they are not given the equality or the justice that they deserve. And they had their own spirituality, culture, laws, and languages. And there is a lot for us to learn from them. So I am thankful that I am allowed to live in this country by their generosity. So we acknowledge and pay respect to the past, present, and future traditional custodians and elders of this nation we call Australia, and the continuation of cultural, spiritual, and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. We acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander tribes were the first sovereign nations of the Australian continent. The Gadigal of the Eora Nation are the traditional custodians of this space we now call Sydney. And Wangal people are the traditional owners of Burwood, where my wife and I live.
Just a note that the theme of the topic of the readings are justice. And if you're not reading, please mute your microphone. And when your readings comes on the screen, then you can unmute and read.
presses on earth. Withdraw your hands from tyranny, for I have pledged myself not to forgive any man's injustice. This is my covenant, which I have irrevocably decreed in the preserved tablet, and sealed it with my seal of glory. This is my covenant, which I have irrevocably decreed in the preserved tablet, and sealed it with my seal of glory, of glory, of glory, of glory, of glory. This is my covenant.
The best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. Turn not, turn not, turn not away therefrom, if thou desirest me, and neglected not that I may confide in thee. By its aid thou shalt see with thine own eyes, and not through the eyes of others, and shalt know of thine own knowledge, and not through the knowledge of thy neighbor. Ponder this in thy heart, how it behooveth thee to be. Verily, justice is my gift to thee, and the sign of my loving kindness. Said it then, said it then, said it then before thine eyes. Said it then before thine eyes. O Son of Spirit.
Justice hath a mighty force at its command. It is none other than reward and punishment for the deeds of men. By the power of this force, the tabernacle of order is established throughout the world, causing the wicked to restrain their natures for fear of punishment. It ill beseemeth the station of man to commit tyranny. Rather it behoveth him to observe equity and be attired with the raiment of justice under all conditions. Beseech ye the one true God, that he may, through the power of the hand of loving kindness and spiritual education, purge and purify certain souls from the defilement of evil passions and corrupt desires, that perchance the evidences of injustice may be blotted out, and the splendor of the light of justice may shed its radiance upon the whole world. Tablets of Baha'u'llah.
He is not thereby just because he hastily arbitrates. The wise man should investigate both the right and the wrong. The intelligent man leads others not falsely, but lawfully and impartially. Buddhism. That which is good for all and anyone, for whomsoever that's good for me, that I hold good for self. I should for all only law. Universal is true law. Zoroastrianism. What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. That is the entire Torah. As thou desirest that evil not befell thee, but to partake all that's good, thou shouldest act in a spirit to that subject and to offenders. Judaism.
Do not to others, but we do not wish done to yourself, and wish for others too, what you desire and long for yourself. This is the whole of Dharma. Hinduism, Mahabharata. Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that they also have a master in heaven. Christianity, the New Testament, Colossians 4:1. All they who believe stand out firmly for God as witnesses to fair dealing, and let not the hatred of others to you make you swerve to wrong and depart from justice. Be just. That is next to piety, and fear God, for God is well acquainted with all that they do. If thou judge iniquity between them, for God loveth those who judge iniquity. Islam, the Quran, 5:9-45.
Justice is not limited. It is a universal quality. Its operation must be carried out in all classes, from the highest to the lowest. Each man has been placed in a post of honor which he must not desert. A humble workman who commits an injustice is as much to blame as renowned tyrant. Thus, we all have our choice between justice and injustice. I hope that each one of you will become just and direct your thoughts towards the unity of mankind, that you will never harm your neighbors nor speak ill of anyone, that you will respect the rights of all men and be more concerned for the interest of others than for your own. Thus will you become torches of divine justice. Thus shall we rejoice in the Sun of Justice, which shines from the horizon of God. Abdul Baha, Paris Talk, 160.
The word of God, which the Supreme Pen hath recorded on the sixth leaf of the most exalted paradise, is the following. The light of man is justice. Quench it not with the contrary winds of oppression and tyranny. The purpose of justice is the appearance of unity among men. The ocean of divine wisdom searcheth within the exalted word, while the books of the world cannot contain its inner significance. It's being covered with this subtitle or something. Thank you.
As forgiveness is one of the attributes of the merciful, so also is justice, one of the attributes of the Lord. The tent of existence is upheld upon the pillars of justice and not upon forgiveness. So if at present the law of pardon were practiced in all countries, in a short time the world would be disordered and the foundation of human life would crumble. For example, if the government of Europe had not withstood the notorious Attila, he would not have left a single living man. Abdul Baha.
Know thou verily that the essence of justice and the source thereof are both embodied in the ordinances prescribed by him who is the manifestation of the self of God amongst men. If ye be of them that recognize this truth, he doth verily incarnate the highest, the infallible standard of justice unto all creation. Baha'u'llah.
O God, my God, aid thou thy trusted servants to have loving and tender hearts. Help them to spread amongst all the nations of the earth the light of guidance that cometh from the company on high. Verily, thou art the strong, the powerful, the mighty, the all-subduing, the ever-giving. Verily, thou art the generous, the gentle, the tender, the most bountiful.
Okay, friends, thank you for reading those prayers on the topic of justice. We have a distinguished speaker tonight, sorry, my screen down. Dr. Amin Hadi is a imam of a number of mosques in the past. Canberra Mosque from 1981 to 1995, Al-Hijra Mosque in Tempe from 1995 to 1997, Zetland Mosque from 1998 to now. He's been on a number of councils. He initiated, was founder and chairman of the Foundation of Islamic Studies and Information, first chairman and founding member of ICC New South Wales, Indonesia, co-chair of the National Christian, Muslim and Jewish Dialogue, and many other committees. He's fully qualified on Islam. I'll give you the description. He's got a degree in Arabic and Islamic Studies from Islamic University, Medina in Saudi Arabia. Then a Master's of Arabic and Islamic Studies from Al-Azhar University in Cairo. And he obtained a PhD on Islamic Studies from University of New South Wales in Sydney. He also has received the award of Premier of New South Wales for Multicultural Harmony. The topic of the presentation today is about interfaith dialogue in a multicultural Australia environment. Please welcome Dr. Hadi, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can I start by saying Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening to everyone. Let me also start by saying a few words in Arabic. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. First of all, I thank you very much for invitation to take part in this forum of dialogue. And this is the first time I attend this event. So when I was asked to talk, I wasn't sure what mostly you talk about in every occasion. So I just take the topic which is general in its nature, but I believe it is relevant to every one of us, especially we are here to be involved directly in interfaith dialogue. By living in this part of the world, Australia, I believe we are so lucky because this country, people say, belongs to everybody. Simply because everyone who live here, they come from outside, from other country, except our Aboriginal friend. It's quite different, for instance, to our friend in Germany. In Germany, you say, ich bin Deutsch und Sie sind Ausländer. Das ist richtig. In Germany, you say, I am German and you're foreigner. But this is, I believe this is not the case in Australia, because all of us are Australian and we come from other part of the world and then adopt this country of our land. So this is in a way lucky because we then involve directly or indirectly in interfaith. Even if you don't sit and talk about other faith, like what we are doing now, in our daily life, we are indeed involved in interfaith. We meet people of different religion at our work, at our school, at our study, at our community. Even there are so many occasions, and lately become more and more, where people from different faiths, different culture, different background are meeting regularly, or at least occasionally, but more become even regularly right now. And secondly, when you look at the statistic of Australia, of the population who live in this country, can you imagine that more than 50%, either one of both parents were born overseas. So in other words, it is to confirm that this country does belong to everybody. So it is fortunate for us to be part of this world. Even Australia, perhaps it is on the top list of multicultural society in the country of the world. Now, based on this fact, the Australian government has adopted policy which strongly encourages, not only assisted and helped, but encourages people of different faith and culture to always meet and interact, either in word or in action. The government at federal, state, and municipal level have all come to recognize that the large immigration program, as it has evolved since the Second World War, has enormously benefited Australia. Immigration policy, it is true, has at times been controversial, but the fact is what Australia can achieve right now in terms of economic development and social cohesion as the result of migrants who come to this country. This acknowledgement we can hear either from public or from the mouth of government officials themselves. That's why they have a ministry called Ministry of Multicultural Society, to show how important is this element in Australian life. Differently expressed, there is much to gain from sharing the values that unite us, but also the rich insight, aspiration, and know-how that come with the different cultures, tradition, faith, and languages represented in Australian society. It is by developing the dual approach that we can most creatively manage Australia's irreplaceable asset, that it is cultural diversity. We always say that our difference, that our diversity are our strength. This is the fact that this country has so far developed from its beginning until today. In most states, religious organizations have been involved in interfaith relations, either through high-level meetings involving religious leaders or participation in big bodies. Here, the initiative high-level meetings involving religious leaders or participation of people in high bodies, and sometimes with and also some other time without formal approval of the religious leaders. So it goes on grassroots level. People feel comfortably to meet and talk with other faith group. This is the fact, and it is the beauty of living in this part of the world. That interfaith has become nature or part life of population of Australia, either in the form of multicultural or multi-faith society. And we'll come back to some example what is really become the fact in this country in later stage. Now, I would like to start the interfaith Australia in the early days or the history of interfaith in Australia. When you look at the history of migrants coming to Australia, you will find that in the early days, there were interaction between people of Makassar and the Aborigine. The Makassar, they profess the religion of Islam, contradicting or opposing to Aboriginal people. This interaction had lasted for some time. It is about 17th century, which resulted in marriages between them and also in the influence on languages. The Makassar, it happened that my wife is from Makassar. And when we are here, sometimes we travel to inland of Australia and see read names in the places or town or cities or some words which are corresponding to some words in the language at Makassar. Also, when you go to Queensland, if you drive from Gold Coast to Brisbane, you will pass by a town or suburb called Tanah Merah. I was one day driving and really briefly, I enter the suburb, and do you know the name of the streets? Many of them are in Bahasa, in Indonesian language, like Jalan Pintu, Jalan Nomor 1, Jalan Gedung. All this to show that there were strong interaction between the Makassar and the Aborigine, which are different in culture, also different in faith, yet they interacted, they have dialogue for so many years. And then in the later stage, the arrival of Afghan people who were Muslim, who helped to converse, to build the inland transportation of the country. When the white people just opened this part of the world, Australia, they brought the Afghan, the camels, yeah, to build the Australian infrastructure by bringing camels from Afghanistan with the camels themselves who are Afghan and who are Muslim. And from them, so there are some interaction, interfaith. Some of them get also marriage between Afghani and Australian, especially the Australian government at that time did not allow the Afghan to bring their wives. And in the later stage, when more migrants came to Australia from many parts of the world, from Middle East, from Europe, from Eastern Europe, from Russia, and also later on from ASEAN countries. Here, accumulation, the increasing of this interfaith interdialogue in the society, which happened from time to time. And then the interfaith become more instant, more intense in the later state building of many mosques. I'm talking mainly here the background interfaith in Australia, mainly between Muslim and other Muslims. With the building of so many mosques, starting from built by Afghan himself, this opened wide the door to happen interaction between Muslim and non-Muslims. The mosque, they usually have even open days. Even people welcome to come to the mosque anytime. From there, they can learn about, they can know about Islam. It is one of the example. Then, of course, at the stage, you will also see many non-Muslim who convert to become Muslim for different reasons, for interaction with Muslims, for marriage, for initially maybe for business purposes, from initial different reasons, but then later on become at least if they are not Muslim, then they understand Islam a lot better than before because of these elements. So here is a brief story about how interfaith in Australia started. But of course, when we come to nowadays, which I will talk in later part, now I will come to the background of interfaith based on Islamic perspective. Although it is not initially was not mentioned in the topic, but it is, I saw that it is very important. I'm as a Muslim to give you understanding what is the position of interfaith dialogue based on Islamic teaching, Islamic guidance. You will probably be surprised to know the interfaith between Islam, especially with Christianity, had started as early as the day of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he started preaching in Mecca, many Muslims were persecuted by non-believers, the pagan mainly. And they were still very small minority at that time, Muslim in Mecca. So they decided to seek refuge. And where did they go? They went to Ethiopia to seek refuge from a king, from a Christian king known as Habash. When they arrived in this part of the world in Africa at that time, the king then asked them, who are you? What you believe? Who did you worship? And how did you practice your religion? And so on and so on. So after the king heard from the Muslims about the religion they practice, then they decided, we accept you. We protect you to be part of this land. So they got full protection from Christian king where they were Muslim. This is the first ever interaction happened between Muslim and Christian. The second part, which is important to be highlighted here, is that after Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, preached Islam in Mecca for about 12 years, then he and his followers in Mecca decided to migrate to Medina, which is now a second holy city of Islam. The Islamic holy cities are Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem, Al-Quds. It is our 3 holy cities and 3 holy mosques in this cities. So when they arrived in Medina, the population of Medina at the time were indeed multicultural society, multicultural faith. They were Jews, they were Christian, they were pagan, and they were non-faith even. Some of them also Muslim, became Muslim. That's why the Prophet invited, that's why the Prophet accepted the invitation. So after the Prophet arrived in Medina and built his mosque known today as Prophet Mosque, Al-Masjid An-Nabawi, the first thing he did was he invited followers of all faith and religion and communities to this mosque, to this holy mosque. He invited them and asked them to talk together as how we will live together in this holy city. And there are many different faiths, different culture, different faith, even different color. Because some of them also came from Africa, many of them Jewish, and so on and so on. So we then adopted what is known later on as Medina Charter, Mithaq al-Medina, represent the agreement between people of different faiths and also between the Muslims themselves. Because Muslim, they have two groups now. The one who originally came from Mecca, known as Al-Muhajirin, and the people of Medina themselves, known as Al-Ansar, as within the Muslim group. And there are many non-Muslims who are, as mentioned before, Jews, Christian, and all other faiths. The Mazdaism even were there, those who worship the fire. The charter consists of so many articles, so many points, and the main content of the charter is how the people from all different faiths should live together in harmony. There are points. I can't read it because of the time. But the main point is, number one, between them, Muslim themselves, of people from originating from Makkah and from Medina, and secondly, between non-Muslim themselves. As you know, the people at that time, for instance, among the people of Jewish, for instance, they big enmity between them within the group of Jews themselves. You are not talking about Jews and other Arab, the pagan, for instance. So long, history is telling us about the trouble or the enmity between those groups. And now the Prophet came to that city to unite them, to make them like brothers. Even those people from Mecca who never knew before from Medina, soon they met and live under the umbrella of Islam with the guidance of Prophet Muhammad. They become like brothers and sisters. And those who are fighting each other among non-Muslims themselves now become brothers, also live peacefully. And then between non-Muslim and Muslim also, they were living together in very harmonious society. It is the very first step of interfaith, which that beginning of this. When I read this, it is very similar, perhaps like us. We come from many parts of the world, and then we adopted as one nation by this country. So when they arrived in Medina, soon under the leadership of Muhammad, peace upon him, so they were treated as one nation, which is Arabic is one ummah, ummatan wahidah, under the umbrella of Muhammad. But every group, every faith, full people, they maintain the freedom of faith. So no compulsory in religion. It is the teaching of Al-Quran. La ikraha fid din. Qad tabayyana rushd minal ghayy. There is no compulsory in religion, as falsehood and truth have been made clear. So based on this one, the Prophet gave freedom to everybody to practice their faith, but they live in harmony and peace as the population, as one nation of Medina at that time. It is also based on what Allah says in the Quran, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. All mankind. Yeah, God said, not all believers, all mankind. We have created you from a single pair of male and female. That is Adam and Eve, and we made you into nations and communities that you may know one another. Indeed, the most honorable among you in the sight of Allah, in the sight of God, is the one who is more dutiful to him. This is to show that man is equal. It is to show the principle of equality, highly regarded in Islam, regardless of the color, regardless of the faith, regardless of the languages, the position, and so on, are equal in front of God. The only merit of your deed will distinguish you from another. That is the meaning of the verse. As it is also strengthened again by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he delivered his final speech in farewell Hajj, when he said, La farqa baina Arabin wa Arab. There is no, all of you are from Adam, and Adam is from dust. No difference between white and black, between three multiple colors, yeah, except by the merit of piety to God. Now, from this event of which taking place Al-Hijrah, indeed there are so many lessons we can learn. When I say we, I believe regardless of your language, your color, your religion, we are talking here about the principle of togetherness, the principle of religion of freedom, the principle of tolerance. Yeah? So many subjects that we can learn, we can so yeah, many articles we can see. Number one, we said before that communities all become one nation, and then that people are based on the merit of the work and they did. And secondly, that we've been created here to be brother to one another, to be friend to one another. That's what I said. What is the relevance of this lesson from migration to our life today in Australia? But I said earlier, very similar, very relevant. We came from many parts of the world. We profess different faith, we bring different culture, we speak different languages, yet we adopt this country of Holland and we are Australia. So we always say, I can be a good Muslim and good Australian. I can be good Baha'i and I'm a good Australian. I can be good Hindus and I'm good Australian. Because all the teaching of the faith become relevant to our multicultural society in Australia. One thing also is the protection or the right of minority. In fact, in my own view, in this country, we should never voice the word of majority or minority. Because everybody has the same rights, regardless you're following, either you're following big majority of religion or big number of religion, or you're small one. Your right has been fully protected and is further. Therefore, departing with this point, I would like to move to the next part, which is how we as Australian pursue the interfaith direction. What is the role and contribution the faithful people should make toward building of better Australia? I think, number one, being, as I said earlier, being living in this part of the world, the foundation of multicultural society has been adopted very strongly in this part of the world. And it is itself has given us a very good footing for us to build. Because when we have already strong foundation, then it will be very easy for you to build the next step, to put the post, to put the wall, and so on and so on. And it is what we are doing. Thank God that Government Australia has embarked on this beautiful foundation. And we who adopt this country later on, when I say adopt, I say most of us are comers from overseas, or maybe some of you were born here, but doesn't matter. But we are in sharing life together here. Then we should encourage and we should promote the work interfaith in the way we could. We may have it at our workplace. We may work it in our house of worships. We may have it at the university. We make it in our local and regional society. Believe me, when in Ramadan, for instance, the fasting month of Islam, I break my fast not only at the mosque, but I attended iftar, we call it, breaking fast in Ramadan, in churches, in synagogues, in hall organized or hosted by our friend from different faith, from Buddhas, Buddhists, and also from Hindus. This is to show how, if we embark and we go on this faith, then the interfaith dialogue will become not only easy, that will become part of our daily life. Secondly, we should also make use of what the government provided for us. This government in the policy through the Ministry of Multicultural Affairs, in which I was part of, they call it like a group, working group. There are so many facilities provided by the government, but sometimes we are not aware of it. Even if they are not there and we can request to the government will open the door, will open their mind and the policy as to how to help this interfaith dialogue group. Even if you now open, I'm trying to find the list of interfaith groups, which is listed now. So many group in either this group is community level, even religious level, state level, and federal level. For instance, we have Australian Council for Christian and Jews, Australian Partnership for Ethnic and Religious Organization, to mention some names. Australian Federation of Islamic Council, Australian Multicultural Foundation, Australian National Dialogue of Christian, Muslim, and Jews, I am co-chair of it, but for time being, it's after the passing of our Jewish friend, and then what happened in the Middle East, so temporarily we are suspending the activities until further notice, of course. But nonetheless, the spirit of brotherhood, the spirit of understanding is still there. We still talk, we still meet, but not in sitting together as a group in interfaith before. Then you have Colombian Center for Christian Muslim Relation. Then you have Council of Australian Council for Multicultural Australia, and there are so many others. The list is going on and so on. So now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, by looking at what is on the ground in our daily life, I believe strongly that interfaith dialogue in Australia will grow and will become stronger. No one can avoid, as it is from today, not to be involved in interfaith dialogue, because it is the way to develop our mutual understanding and respect for different views. Lack of understanding and respect is a vehicle for intolerance, and ultimately violence. Then there is no other ways but interfaith dialogue. As Muslims living in this part of the world, in multicultural and multi-faith society of Australia, I strongly also believe that this dialogue will contribute greatly to the success of building the harmonious society of Australia. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Dr. Hadi. It was very nice of you to come and give your presentation. Wonder whether anybody likes to ask questions. Please raise your hand, your electronic hand, so that we can start the questions and answers. Juan, do you want to ask your question? You're muted.
Thank you very much, Ahmad and Dr. Amin. You got one of the titles. Thank you for your lecture. You got one of the title co-chair of the National Christian, Muslim and Jewish Dialogue. Do you know much about what's the difference between Christian and Catholic people? Like when they celebrate Mass every Sunday, if they do they really need the holy bread in every Mass? And when they do donation, for charity, like Compassion Project, where's the money supposed to go? Will they go to Rome? Will they go to the local church? And what's the difference? If they're not going to local church, or they're not going to Rome, but they go somewhere else, is anybody report to you anything about their activities?
Okay, thank you for your question. Maybe this question is not exactly to be addressed to me. I am a Muslim imam. Yeah. Although I was involved in interfaith dialogue with Christian and Judaism, the subject we were talking and the dialogue usually is how we can promote living together. And we are not sometimes not discussing detail of each faith, because each faith belongs to the group itself. But I think to answer some of your question from what I knew is, of course, there is a difference between Catholicism and Christianity. Otherwise, they were not a group if they are the same. Yeah. Number one, I think the faith itself is the belief in Trinity. But some of your question was about donation. Of course, it is an internal matter for the church, for the priest to handle money. Where does it go? Because even if you're Christian, ask you priest, maybe as a church, maybe you won't get very clear answer. This is what I heard from our Christian friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
That money usually is handled mostly by the church themselves. And then when you're talking about the celebration of feast, also there is different, and it has happened in some faith, like yes, as you know, the different even between the Christian themselves, within the Catholic, as in Orthodox and liberal one, also is different. Even within the Jews, there's also Orthodox and moderate or liberal. Even in Islam, sometimes also we have some. This is very normal to exist like this. Yeah. What else was the point you're asking?
And another question about the land. you know, like when the newcomers come to the land, they bring innovation, they bring ideas, they bring initiative, they pay land tax. So every one of us should be very proud to step into any land that we can help, because at the moment we need a lot of money to help with a lot of things, and therefore we need a lot of people gonna go to the countryside, do the agriculture. And as you mentioned about infrastructure, I heard that you saying it. So that is for economic reason, you talk about infrastructure, but a lot of lands at the moment haven't been released, and I don't know why. People bought the land, but the land hasn't been released because of lack of supply, labor, everything. So that is, like you say, to talk about future expectation, we have a long way out to go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I believe if people all faith, all different faith, they come together, they can make a power. Yeah. So we can either help the government on their project, or we can even request things that we need for our group, for ourselves, for instance. But the main thing is to get our right affair together. I can tell you one thing. We always say that among the Muslim and Jewish, how we can have our feast day as our holiday. For instance, we celebrate our Eid. You know the word Eid. It is after end Ramadan fast celebration. It is big day for us as Muslim. Also, you have different faith, different. But can we have this day as our holiday? Not necessarily to be public holiday or national holiday, but holiday for ourselves as Muslim. Holiday for Jews. We talk about it within Muslim and Jews. Of course, the Christian, they have Christmas. This is one example. If we can together with this, I can call this one like infrastructure, our need, isn't it? I mean, as faithful people living in this part of the world, it is an example how if we work together, then we can also together with other faith group, and we can submit to the parliament that we should get our right fully as religious people. This is one example. So one again, your question was very good. That's how we can support the government in the project. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Sibo, you're next. You're muted.
Thank you, Dr. Amin Hadi, for this wonderful presentation. I didn't know that the interfaith and the way that you presented the historical where the Muslims have to flee and go to Ethiopia, and the Christian king accommodated them. These were all new to me. But I just want to share one of the quotation that we used to read in another program that I share here in the screen. This is Abdul Baha's words. He said, Muhammad never fought against the Christians. On the contrary, he treated them with consideration and accorded them complete freedom. In Najran, there lived a community of Christians, and they were under the care and protection, under his care and protection. Muhammad said, should anyone infringe upon their rights, I myself will be his enemy and will charge him before God. In the edicts he promulgated, it is clearly stated that the lives, property, and honor of Jews and Christians are under the protection of God. That a Muslim husband may not prevent his Christian wife from going to church, nor oblige her to wear a veil. That if she died, he must entrust her remains to the care of a priest. And that if the Christians desired to build a church, the Muslims must support them. Furthermore, in time of war between Islam and her enemies, the Christians were to be exempt from fighting, unless they desired of their own accord to join and assist the Muslims in battle, in view of the protection they enjoyed. in compensation for this exemption, they were to pay each year a small amount. In short, there are 7 lengthy edicts on these subjects, copies of some of which are to this day extant in Jerusalem. This is the very truth and not merely my own assertion. The edict of the second caliph is still in the custody of the Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem, and the matter is beyond doubt. Nevertheless, after a time, rancor and envy arose between Muslims and Christians as transgressions were committed by both sides. Beyond this truth, whatever Muslims, Christians, or others may say is pure fabrication and proceeds from fanaticism, ignorance, and intense hostility. So, yes, for us, Abdul Baha clearly stated how Prophet Muhammad wanted to treat the Christians and the Jews in their life. So but we still have these prejudices and hostilities, and we had to work hard. And as you said, everyone in our own life in Australia is part of the interfaith dialogue, is part of our life, whether at work or church or in the community. So we are doing our little bit, and thank you for giving this presentation and wonderful work that you do. But I have one question. What was Prophet Muhammad's religion at birth? That is, with their parents or whoever it is. What was their religion?
Sorry, say again.
When Muhammad was born, what was the religion of their parents?
Yes. Good. Yeah, most of the people of Makkah at that time, they were worshipping idols. But what Quran says about them, about the faith? Quran says, "Wala in sa'altahum man khalaqas samawati wal ard la yaqulun." They worship idol, and the idol they put in Mecca, where the Kaaba now, the black stone is there. They put idols, small idols. And they said, why? The Quran says, if you ask them who created heaven and earth, they would have answered, it is God. Meaning that they believe in God. But then they put small idols, 365 statues around the Kaaba. And when Quran tells them, why you put those statues on the Kaaba, the answer was, لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى, to make us closer to God. So it is very unique. Yeah? They were idol, they worshipping idol, they believe in God, but they worship idol. It is most people who live between the interval between the prophet. After Moses, for instance, came Jesus. After Jesus, then came Muhammad. Those people who live in between the people, many of them, they change faith. They make some alteration of the teaching of the prophet who came before them. So the people of Makkah, they were pagan, they were worshipping idols, but when they asked them, "What? Who created God? Who created heaven and earth?" They were worshipping God. Then Muhammad was born during this period, of course. When he was born, people were worshipping that idol. But as the future prophet, God had protected him like any other prophet who came before, like Moses, Jesus, even they live in the people who are atheists, even believers, but God protect them from involving in the worshipping other than God. So in other words, Muhammad at the time was living by himself. And later on, when he was over 30, he started to search. It is not the right truth. It is not the right way of life. He was meditating in the top of mountain, called Jabal An-Nur, the Mount of Nur. And over there, he was looking for inspiration. under the cave called the Cave of Hera, which is on the top of the hill, until one day a voice came to him. It is from angel of Gabriel. It is the first ever revelation from God came to him, the word read in the name of your Lord. It is the first revelation came to him, not the word worship God, not the word don't worship idol, but rather read in the name of your Lord. So then, from then he started to become a prophet. So before that, yes, he did not worship any other faith. He did not follow any faith. I hope it's become clear. Yeah, thank you.
But in the Baha'i writings, Baha'u'llah mentions that there was an instant that Prophet Muhammad and few of his companions were turning in a particular direction and saying prayers. And in the middle of the prayer, Prophet Muhammad actually turned into a different direction and continued with his prayer. And the other companions, some of the companions, were so upset with Prophet Muhammad and they left him. This was told, written by Baha'u'llah. So there must have been something that at that time the people in Mecca or Medina were praying in a certain direction. They must have had some sort of religion. That's why I asked this question.
Yes. When he was in Mecca, initially when he started in Medina, because the order to pray in that way we are doing now is started in Medina or in Mecca, but after it is at the 10 after prophethood, 10 years after prophethood, or 2 years before he migrated to Medina. It is on the event when he was ascended to God onto the seventh heaven, during which he received revelation for the Muslim, for him and his followers to pray 5 times. And that time, they pray facing the direction of Jerusalem. The first Qibla, we call it, the first destination of face when you pray to Jerusalem, all the way until he was in Medina for about, I can't remember exactly, 2 or 3 years. Then there was a revelation for him to turn his face now to the direction of Mecca. It is a revelation from God. And this revelation came at a mosque, and this mosque is now still kept there. And this mosque is called Qiblatain, with 2 direction of prayer. It doesn't mean that people still have to pray to the first and second direction, but rather, while he was praying to the direction of Jerusalem, then revelation came down in which he should change the direction of facing himself to the direction of Mecca. And from that, there is no, from the history and from the Islamic history, there is no point of dispute or rebellion or whatsoever on that matter. All the companions did follow the revelation and follow the prophet. This is what I know from the Islamic point of view.
Can I clarify a little bit here? I think the population in that area at the time of Muhammad, they were followers of Abraham and the principles of Abraham, but population was diluted with idol worshipping as well. And there were some Jews at that time there, because Muhammad talks about talking with Jews at the time when he was in Mecca and Medina. So it was a mixture of population of idol worshippers, followers of Abraham, and Judaism.
Sorry for barging in. I don't know how to put my hand up in the electronic way. So I'm Paul Gratian. I have 2 questions to ask.
Paul, can you wait?
Can answer.
Paul, Can you wait until I will put you on the order? There are a few people that have raised their hands before you. So let them ask their questions and I'll put you in that order after them, okay?
Okay, that is fine. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is Sivalingam. You're muted.
Okay. I just want to say about Dr. Hadi. Dr. Hadi comes from the Indonesian background. Indonesia is a country that has the largest number of Muslims, and they are forward thinking. And in Indonesia, there are several religions there. The government takes care of all the religions. For example, the Hindus, they're respected. Bali being a Hindu, their festival is respected, and everybody is respected. And the thing about Indonesia is they have a dollar which is called rupiah. In the dollar, or see, our money is called dollar, their money is called rupiah. In that rupiah, they have the photograph of Ganesha there, or the Sri Lankan call it player. It is there. When we ask the Indonesian, why do you have this photograph of Ganesha on your dollar note? You're a Muslim country. They said this Hinduism or Ganesha was part of the religion of our ancestors. We respect that. Now our religion is Muslim. So, many Hindus throughout the world, they are very proud to see a Ganesha in the legal tender note of Indonesia. Legal tender. It is there always. Then the other thing is Indonesia has a lot of historic Hindu buildings which are taken care of by the government, and they're still well preserved. Some other countries, they do not preserve, Hindu structures, Hindu facilities. Indonesia is one of the few countries where Baha'i faith is recognized as an independent religion. Thank you, just for information.
Okay, thank you very much.
You don't have any questions?
Yes, may I put a little small explanation on that one? We have foundation of country which called Pancasila. It literally means 5 foundation or 5 basic foundation. It is number 1 to believe in God, and then to believe in God, we mean the creator of the universe, including, of course, Hinduism and Buddhism, and all of the faith were really well protected. Just to add on that one, okay.
This is what he was referring to, Ganesha, the picture, not photograph, picture of a Hindu god called Ganesha. You can see the screen, yes?
Yeah, it is. It is.
I myself never saw that what will banknote actually.
It's in 20,000 notes. It's an older series.
Really? Oh.
My wife had the.
It is the first time I saw it. Oh.
Yeah, it's in here.
Oh. Can you make it clear, Budi?
Sorry, it's making it blur.
Yeah, you cannot blur. Yeah.
Bring it closer.
Anyway,
20,000.
The 20,000.
Sivalingam, do you have any questions?
No. That's it. I just wanted to comment.
Okay, next is Budai.
Budi,
sorry.
No, thank you, Dr. Aminadi, for the lecture. And and as this is my first meeting looking at here, and the opening, there is prayers from many religions, and I kind of know. I always know that the religions share some common values. In this case, justice. So it's really nice to see, and I think we share a lot of different things, convinced in a different way. And when reading a story, Dr. Aminadi, there's always this context, the relationship always between religions and between faith. But as you know, there are probably growing population where people start to lose faith and become atheists, right? So what's your view on that? I mean, are you concerned that we're going that direction? And in a way, what can we do?
That good question. I did my presentation without having anything written on the note. That is partly my ignorance in IT, and I do need some help of someone to put them. Actually, I was planning if I could to put the result of the statistic of Australia, which I have 2016, which obviously has been released to the public, in which you see when you see the result of the what call it census, 2016, you will notice that the largest increase in this census was the largest increase is those who tend to become who put themselves as non-religious person. The largest one. And the largest decrease is the decrease of Catholicism and Christianity. The largest decrease of followers of religion. The largest decrease is the followers of Christianity. Yeah? And the largest increase is those who claim to be non-religious person. Then we talk about the increase of religion, which some of them from originally maybe Christian Catholic, which is the last census was Islam, and then Buddhism, and then Hinduism, and then other faiths. I can't remember. What does it mean? Of course, you pose very, very good question, because we live in the part of the world, in this country, and we know the position of your religion, of our religion. I said to the people, in a way, as followers of any religion, it is good feel for us the increasing of those who claim to be non-faithful person. To me as Muslim, one again I repeat, to show that those who follow this religion start, I'm sure there is one Christian with us here, start to feel some kind of emptiness in themselves, that the faith cannot fulfill their spiritual need. It is mostly because I'm running class as well to our new Muslim and those who are still learning Islam, and most majority of them are Christian. They feel, and of course the fact will telling you that we never heard any construction of new churches, for instance, but we saw every day mosque, synagogue, call it temple of Baha'i, what do you call it? And temple of other faiths, we have mushrooming being built at many. I see Buddhism. Yeah, I saw many new temple of Buddhism in many parts of Sydney even, and you got big one in Wollongong. This is to show the followers of this religion increasing substantially. So this is in a way, it is if you're faithful people, then I consider the word field of you to work to bring those people who claim to be non-religious person or atheist. Some didn't say atheist, but they think the coin which is non-followers to any faith. Yeah, and this is mostly, we believe it is from Catholicism and Christianity, because they decrease substantially the number. Of course, the influence of worldly matters, the more people become progressing, more prosperous in your life, sometimes make you deleted or make you then become negligence of your spiritual need. So here need the balance between spiritual, material, and spiritual. And this is what happened in the West now, is imbalance between materialism and spiritualism. And it is the work of the religious people, regardless of faith, to work on this matter. Yeah, okay.
Okay, Colin, I know you're next, but I think if you don't mind, wait on ask Paul to ask his questions first. Then you are next. Okay, Paul, you're muted. Go ahead and ask questions. Your question. You're muted, Paul. By the way, to raise your hand, you have to go to reaction, and in the reaction, you can raise your hand if you want to speak or ask questions. So, but you're muted.
I think he's trying to unmute, but it's not working.
It's not working. Okay. I'll ask Colin to ask the question, and then I'll wait until you can sort out your microphone.
Oh, he is unmuted. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, unmuted.
Yeah,
Is it
okay,
okay?
go ahead. Look,
Okay.
if you go into reaction, you can raise your hand there.
Okay.
So that you said you don't know how to do it.
Okay. Now
Okay.
see the reaction, okay?
Yeah.
Future, I
Okay.
will do that. And
Yeah.
first of all,
that
I
makes sense.
thank Siba for sending me the invitation. So that gave me an opportunity to attend this. And then thanks, Dr. Amin, for your presentation. I have a very brief comment and two questions. My comment is that it doesn't matter what religion I belong to, but I was baptized as a Catholic. And there's, say, when we talk about Christians, Catholics come under Christians. Catholics is not a different group. Those days we used to say Catholics and Protestants. Protestants, there is Methodist, Anglicans, Episcopalian, and various things. But generally, present day, when we use the term Christian, Catholics come under Christian. That is my comment. And then my question is, one is I have some Muslim friends, and they talk about Isa, referring to Jesus as one of their prophets. So how did that originate? If during, say, origin of Islam, how did this Isa come in as a prophet? That is one question that Dr. Amin may respond to that. My second question is, it is a great thing to talk about, say, unity and interfaith. But when it comes to interfaith, I hardly hear about, we always talk about Muslims, Christians, and Jewish. I hardly hear about Buddhist and Hindus in the interfaith interactions and activities. That anyone can, Siba or Dr. Amin can respond.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll answer. The first question is about Isa as the prophet of God. Look, we have our holy book, Quran, in the Al-Quran. And in Quran, it is stated clearly that Isa was one of the prophets of God. And there is a long story of the life of Prophet Isa in the Quran, including acknowledging the fact that he was born without biological father. And the term very similar to what Christians believe, that God has sent an angel, which they call it Holy Spirit. We call also Spirit because Gabriel is Holy Spirit. And Gabriel came to Maryam, to Mary, bringing the Spirit and the Word of God. Quranic word, Ruhun min Allahi wa kalimatuhu. The Spirit of the soul and the words of God being blown up, being brought down and being flown to the womb of Mary. Then she became pregnant. So biologically, very similar what we have and what you have. We believe that Isa was born, Jesus born without father. That it is the Holy Spirit Gabriel who brought the Spirit into Mary's womb. But and in Christianity, I believe the same thing, that Jesus was born from Mary without father, because God has made her pregnant, if I may say. But then we say, because he was born by a human being, that is what we believe in the Quran, then he is not God. And we don't say the Son of God, because God is God. God is held by himself. I'm telling you the perspective from Islamic teaching. Yeah, of course it's different, and we cannot argue, we cannot debate, because this is the vision which exists. And I've been co-chairing the interfaith dialogue between our three faith religion. We did not argue about this matter. Yeah, but rather we understand each other better. This is the aim of interfaith dialogue, is understanding, and then from then we have a kind of tolerance. So in Islam, we consider Isa, Jesus, as the highest prophet of God. Even his mother, the Prophet Muhammad said, was number 2 chosen woman of the world. In the beginning of chapter, which is called chapter Mary, can you imagine? There is no single woman's name mentioned in the Quran. Considered as taboo. But the name of Mary was not only mentioned, but become the main one chapters in the Quran. We call in Arabic Surah to Maryam, the chapter of Mary. And it starts by saying, Inna Allah astafaki wa tahharaki wa astafaki ala nisa'il alamin. We have indeed chosen thee, O Mary, purified thee, and elected thee from the women of the world. Can you imagine? Quran put this woman very highly. Chosen thee, purified thee, and elected thee from the women of the world. Come to second after the wife of Pharaoh. Yeah, to save Moses in the hand of saves Moses in the hand of Pharaoh. She was number 1, Mary. Yeah. So we put in that way, we see her, we see him as the most respected prophet, and from beginning, he was seen as the pure child before even before he was born. When Mary surprised to know that a man came to her while she was alone, and she's a very righteous woman, then she said, I seek refuge from you, if you really your pious man. Then the angel said, indeed, I am a messenger of your Lord to give you a pure child. Hulaman li'ahabalaki hulaman zakiya. So it is one point about Jesus. The second point is about unity and interfaith. Yeah. Yes, I believe strongly that with interfaith we can build a strong unity, or better unity than before. What unity here means is that doesn't mean that we have to do all together.
Dr. Hadi, sorry, his question was why we can't hear Buddhists and Hindus in the interfaith.
Oh, this is the last question, I think.
Yeah.
Because I got 3 points here.
Yeah.
The first round about Jesus, about second one about unity and interfaith, and the third point about Buddhism. I'll have about here.
My question was because we talk a lot about interfaith, be in the sense lots of various groups, but we don't generally Buddhists and Hindus are not
one question
incorporated. Mainly they talk about Jewish, Muslims, and Christians.
Yes, I think as I mentioned before, there are many interfaith groups. Yeah, and one of the group I was involved. I actually involved into interfaith mainly. I attended others, but the main group I involved is number 1 is Abrahamic dialogue. When is Abrahamic mean the followers of Christian, Muslim, and Jews. It is what. But in other words, there is also we call APRO. APRO is Association of Partnership of Religious Organization, APRO. Australian Partnership of Religious Organizations that include 8 faith groups, including Buddhism, Sikhism, Hinduism. What else? Of course, the Buddhism, of course. And we went a few times to Parliament House. We met some ministers. We talked about many things. But because the nature of the group was so big, then we hardly could organize or share the activities together. But we conducted at least 2 seminars in Parliament House by this group, by Buddhism, Hinduism, and of course the 8 religious group which I mentioned before. Maybe you didn't hear the impact this loudly or louder than other group. I think because the small number or the sound of the number of this group. But yeah, I don't. Do you know that the main vehicle of this group approach was our sister from Bahai? I forgot her name. She's now in Sydney. She used to be in Canberra, and now she's based in Sydney. He is our motor vehicle to our activities in APRO, which is include all faith group, and we're so happy with it. That's why from here, then I went a few times to Temple of Sikhism, which is located a bit further on. I went to in Bahai in Valley. Yeah. I went a few times. I attended the function, the celebration over there a few times. I went to Wollongong, the Buddhist temple over there when they have celebration in Darling Harbour. That is part of APRO, but maybe it doesn't sound strongly as it is interfaith. But it is there. It is fact. It is going on. It is happening. Lately I was attending the Buddhist celebration in Darling Harbour. I think in May. Yes, last May. I think. So
Paul,
it is the fact matter, but I believe activity may be not as, or the gathering or the discussion not as often as between the 3 religious denomination. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Paul, we definitely in this forum we have had many Buddhists and Hindus speaking. So if you attend, we definitely in future will have them as well. So in this forum we do have. Regarding to your first question, Isa is one of the line of the prophets of the dispensation of Abraham. So even Muhammad is, and even Baha'u'llah is in the line of prophets from the Abrahamic dispensation. Abdul Baha says, from Abraham, many prophets have come. Moses, Christ, Muhammad, and even Baha'u'llah are all related to Abraham. Okay, Colin, you're next.
Thank you, Dr. Hadi. Very much appreciated your presentation. And I have been to some APRO meetings. I was invited by Natalie Mabini. Is that who you're thinking of?
Yes, Natalie. Yes, Natalie, our good friend, our good worker. Yes, I appreciate him very highly. Yes, and Natalie, working very hard, very active lady. Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's a wonderful organization, APRO. So I'm just, I appreciated what you were saying about Medina and how Muhammad was a peacemaker. And you gave the example of how he laid the foundations of unity, and not just an outward unity, but also they could see each other as brothers and sisters, despite their religious diversity in Medina. And also we've had presentations in this Thursday night Zoom meeting about what Professor Halim Rain from Griffith University talked about how through the Quran, Muhammad laid the foundations of security through agreements and treaties. So Muslims know that Muhammad was a peace builder. Baha'is know that Muhammad was a peace builder. scholars of the Quran and early Islamic history. They know that Muhammad was a peace builder. But in my experience, some other religions haven't quite caught on to this. They don't see Muhammad in that way. And sometimes ordinary people who aren't necessarily religious also have a prejudice against Muhammad. So I'm just wondering, are there any interfaith groups which try to address religious prejudice, and especially the prejudice against Muhammad, and help us to see him as the peace builder, which he was?
Good. Yeah, I was one day talking about basic principle of Islam, teaching of Islam, which is Islam itself is, the name Islam itself from Silmun, Salamun, Islam meaning peace in submission to the will of God. So Islam and Salam coming from one word, Salam means peace. Yeah. Then during all his lifetime, the history has recorded that when there is war happened during that time, Islam only allowed war to self-defense. The verse in the Quran was very clearly that fight those who fought you and do not be aggressors and do not go beyond the limit. You see? And so many years, Islam during the period of Mecca, for more than 10 years, Islam were prosecuted. Some Muslims were persecuted, and there is no defense because they were weak. So they often pray secretly, they conducted meetings secretly. At one point, they were besieged for 3 years, not allowed to go outside to interact with others in business or in marriage or anything. They were passive and did not do any action to oppose the non-believers. But when they went out in Medina and the number of Muslims increased, then the attack from non-believers from Mecca came increasing. And here then there was a revelation came, and the revelation says, وَقَاتِلُوا الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. I should stop with this here. Fight those who fought you and do not be transgressors and don't be aggressors. If you fight only to those who fought you and to try to be aggressor, even though the way you react should not go beyond the limit. So the other Islam went that way. And the history registered that no single war in Islam with Islam came as aggressor, as initiator of the war, but rather to all the faiths. Of course, there are some literatures. That is what I said when I was giving talk in a church. One question exactly like same like your question, that Muhammad was known as aggressor, and he spread Islam using what weapon or whatever. But I'm telling you now the basic teaching of Islam and the fact of history based on Islamic literature, because neither me nor those people who live their life during the life of the Prophet, we only read from literature, and the literature can be different. You can read one event from different books and came to you with different perception by the nature. So if you have the kind of person in your mind, I want you, I invite you to read the other literature. It comes from Muslim with very accurate narration. Every single action during single event during the war was mentioned there with complete narration. That Islam was never like this. And if you look at the way the life of the Prophet Muhammad, how he was mocked, how he was attacked, how he was being persecuted, and even attacked in Medina, even attacked during being mocked by neighbors, for instance. I can tell you one story just to take you what sort of quality Muhammad had. Yeah. Every day someone else, his neighbors, he don't know who the person, overthrow rubbish in front of his house. And he never asked, he never investigate who threw the rubbish. When there is rubbish there, he threw it, Until one day, there is no rubbish. Suddenly, the rubbish not there. So then, only that mind, then he was asking his neighbor. I noticed that I usually have rubbish in front of my house, but today there is no rubbish. Oh, yes, the person is saying is sick. Now, instead of getting angry to him, he visited him and showed sympathy. I wish you become better soon. That is one small example of how his character is. For instance, another habit of him is giving food to old ladies, Jewish lady who was blind and old, and she is lady. So after Fajr prayer, after prayer morning, suddenly he went to that lady who stand up in front of his house on the street. And the Prophet always give her food using his hand. And that lady always, whenever he give food, he doesn't know who was the person who is giving food. But he was always talk about Muhammad. And he used him and talking badly about him. But the Prophet never mentioned who is he. Keep giving food every day. Until one day, after he passed away, then Abu Bakr, the first caliph who replaced him as ruler, continued this habit because he cannot. He tried to do whatever the Prophet always did. And he gave food, but slightly in different way. Yeah? Slightly in different way. The way he feed that lady. The lady said, why you give me food, different kind of food, different way? And the person said, the person who gave you is passed away. Who was the person? It's Muhammad. Only then she knew that the person who fed her every day was Prophet Muhammad, and he never said anything to her also while he was feeding her. This is the kind of character. If you have the kind of person, then think with your mind whether that kind of person is slaughter, whether he is an attacker, who is slaughter. I want you to think by yourself. Apart of, I invite you to read from other literature. I can show you the title, if necessary, the book to read about the life of Prophet Muhammad. Every single action of his life was mentioned that with accurate narration. Yeah, how he treated his wife, how he treated his neighbors, how he treated his friend. And then, I strongly believe, if you read that history of his life in detail, you will take conclusion about what sort of person is he. Yeah, this is only I can tell you, Master Colin. Yeah,
that's very, very helpful, and I'm going to look for some literature with
yes,
some of
please,
those
please.
anecdotes. I think that's a good way to do it.
Yes, please. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hadi, it's my turn to ask my question.
Yes,
We
please.
know from the scriptures of Islam that Islam is a very peaceful religion, and Muhammad was revealing writings that are towards peacefulness. But if we come towards modern time, and go to political discourses that are happening, there's a feeling that there's a danger that if nations become kind of ruled by religion like Iran or Afghanistan, that they have used Islamic scripture in a wrong way, they destroy that peacefulness of the world civilization. We know that, for example, Ayatollahs in Iran, they're helping generating guns to distribute around. And I'm wondering, what is your views about secularism? Where should there be religious concepts ruling a country rather than being secular, where faith to stay as a personal aspect of life?
Good. Yeah. to me, this is classical question. What the question you asked? The first part was that Islam was such a religion, but why the rulers act differently? It more or less, and if I may take the conclusion of your question, why Islam is that way, where some Muslims practice or live different way. This is correct. Yeah. Yes, this is unfortunate. I am a Muslim. Of course, I would not condone or agree this kind of action because it is definitely either who or who. If it is against the teaching of Islam, it's not right. We should not support him if he misuse of religion. Regardless, I'm not naming anyone. It has happened to many faiths, maybe also who claim to be follow this religion but act differently. But this is the nature of human being. But it doesn't change that Islam to be peaceful religion because the act of some Muslim. Yeah, as you will agree with me, if there is some person from maybe I sorry, I have to use the word Baha'i, for instance, to act on him, you won't say that, oh, it is the religion of Baha'ism. No, I won't agree. So the religion of Islam is such beautiful religion, it's a peaceful religion. Yeah, opposing all the kind of oppression like today. When that happened in Israel, such thing, I hardly heard that Zionism, that Judaism, for instance, promote or advocate killing of innocent people. I never heard that kind of word, unfortunately. Yeah, but we also, when there is killing of others, as soon as known as Muslim, then terrorism, for instance. This is a nature. I agree with me how the median Western, the whole media also work on that, but partly it is played also by media. But if you are talking about secularism or religious state or country, you are talking about basic of ruling of the country. Yeah, to me, in Islam there is example given by the Prophet, as I mentioned, in Medina, that way, that he never persecuted any non-Muslims. He laid the foundation of peace together, which is the example how Muslim should be if happen to be he is ruling any country. Should treat anyone, Muslim or non-Muslim, equally. Should not persecute it. It is against the teaching of Islam. But then scholarism is separation between Islam, between religion, between state and religion, isn't it?
State politics.
Yeah, between state and religion. Yeah. To me, it depends on how you practice the system itself. It could be you separate between faith and religion, then you become oppressor to follow religion. It can happen also. Maybe you come to some countries where faith is not a religion of country, but also they persecuted of followers on certain religion. It happened in many parts of the world.
So do you think that we should, in this modern time, choose the best of all religions together and bring that as the principle of ruling the world, ruling the country?
Yeah, to me, the chosen should be how, to me, regardless of whatever system you choose, the main thing to me is how you implement this principle. Either you rule by religion or you rule by scholarism. The main point is how you adopt the policy in the country. The tolerance, the freedom of religion, the non-aggression position. This is what I can say. I cannot say more than that, because when I refer to the speech of the Prophet, for instance, your blood is sacred, your soul is sacred. No one who should take the right of the life of others. That this kind of thing was highly advocated in Islam. But then if there are some oppression coming from certain group of people, then to me it is the application of the principle itself. When again, as I said before, regardless of the system you adopted in the country. Yeah, that is
okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Jung, you have raised your hand again. Do you want to ask your question?
Thank you, Amin.
Yeah.
Dr. Amin and Paul, I just have to answer Paul. Have you noticed on the TV and social media about a lot of thousands of people, they sing about Jesus, they praise Jesus and everything. They read about the Psalm and all the extracts from the Bible, but they are not priests. And they sing a lot and they ask for donation. And when I asked one of them, I said, I don't see you have holy bread here or Eucharist here. And they said, we only just, if we try, we do it once a month. And I said, so we Catholic, we have, a holy bread every Mass Sunday. And you say you're Christian and you have holy bread once a month. And not even, I don't know, once a month. They say, oh, we can't afford it. So I don't know what the story is, but I mean, the problem that with the younger generations, that when they come up, their parents didn't tell them a lot. So they probably will be very confused later on in life. So if you keep watching TV and radio and all that little groups that call themselves Christian, but they thousands of people. They in America, very famous, in Australia, in Singapore, everywhere, all the headquarters, VIP meetings is everywhere. So it was quite alarming for Christian and Catholic to be seen as like one religion. That's what I'm asking. Thank you.
Well, I think belief is transforming these days. You don't have to be in church to be a believer. So belief is transforming in these days. Okay, Siva, is your next.
Thank you. I just wanted to. Colin actually put in the chat that there is a link. I think it is related to what Dr. Amin Hadi was talking about, the peace building and interfaith, the early days, how Islam and Muslims were doing it. So I just wanted to show this. And it's not a question I wanted to ask, but I thank Dr. Amin Hadi for this presentation and also the wonderful work that he is doing. And also I thank Paul for attending this one. And yes, more and more Hindus and Buddhists will be involved. But the major part of the conflict in the world are around these religions, especially Islam and or followers of Islam and Judaism and Christianity. Though there are some Hindu-Muslim conflict in other parts of the world. So maybe we see more of those in the interfaith dialogue, but less of this one. But they are participating in our interfaith dialogue. Thank you. That's what I wanted to share.
Well, we are at about 9:07 now, and this time we normally ask people that haven't spoken, like Pina, Vasanta, Mr. Amjan, if they have anything to ask, please do so. Otherwise, I think we should terminate it because we passed the time that we should normally close up. So, Pina, do you have any? Vasanta?
Thank you for the talk about peace. We all want to have peace. That's why we say Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you.
Thank
yes.
you.
We all have to work for peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
We definitely at these times we have to work for peace because we have come together of different religions, and we have to try to work together and be one.
And
Okay.
also, may I say just one thing?
Yeah.
When you have interfaith discussion, try to bring peace into discussion rather than try to create disunity. I've been
Exactly.
chairing interfaith discussion for 20 years between Muslim, Jews, and Christian. Yeah. But the more we meet, the more we become close friends. It is what I want this interfaith group to be. If attending group, then impression after meeting is this negative, then you are not successful in interfaith discussion.
Yes, that is
Do you
why.
know, can I tell one thing? My Jewish friend, when he introduced me to other of the Jewish friend, what he said, this is my imam. I am trying to see how close we are because of intersection. Another thing is, one of the agreement we had between the three groups is, when there is kind of attack to Christianity, then the Muslim and Jews will stand up to defend him. And there is an attack to Muslim, the Jews and Christian will stand together. The same way when it happens to Jews. This is the way we conducted. Actually, it is what really meant by what? Interfaith dialogue. That is the spirit I want you to bring up and to promote. Not the other way around. Can you just heard what I said? Thank you very much for that.
That's why we share this particular quotation you see on the screen.
Mm.
We share this in every program.
Mm.
It says that whether through deeds or words, the merit of your every contribution to social well-being lies first in your resolute commitment to discover that precious point of unity where contrasting perspectives overlap and around which contending peoples can coalesce. This is again from the Universal House of Justice, the supreme administrative body of the Baha'i Faith. So, as you said, these dialogues should not be there try to establish who is right and who is wrong, but to bring unity. Whatever the different opinions expressed, we had to find the precious point of unity among those different opinions. As collectively, then we can grow together towards the reality or the truth. Yes. And Vasanta, you wanted to say something?
Well, I just wanted to thank him for that. It was a lovely presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. And there is a lady, Ramjan. She is from India. She doesn't actually speak English, but she participated in our World Peace Forum in Tamil from India. And she has just joined and she is just listening. Thank you very much, Ramjan. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Amin Hadi, for coming and presenting your talk. I hope friends enjoyed tonight's session, and it was useful for you to bring the unity in among each other. And as Abdul Baha says, by clash of views, we can come to the truth.
Thank you. Thank you, Budi, and thank you, Paul, for attending. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ave Maria.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.
God bless you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Thank you.